of the MTN Business Executive Breakfast. It's the Business Executive Breakfast series, and today we are talking about something very, very important. You know, the world has changed. The world was changing, and COVID-19 came, and it's pushed a lot of things to change faster than we anticipated would be. For example, a lot of you are working from home. There's somebody I saw this morning that I've seen only twice this year because he works from home. Some of you are schooling from home. When it comes to healthcare, a lot of us are getting healthcare via e-services, apps, phone calls, WhatsApp, and all sorts of avenues. Life as we knew it 10 years ago is not the same today. Now, life as we know it today will not be the same 10 years from now, and things are changing. Now, all these changes are driven by consumer taste, consumer needs, and consumer preferences. So how do you position your business to understand consumer trends in today's world, to make the right decisions for investment, business process tweaking, and grow and be profitable? That's basically the conversation we are going to have. So at the end of today, you should understand consumer trends, how you can use the information to turn your business around, and how you can also meet consumer needs to be a business that helps to change lives, because business is not just about making money, right? For example, MTN has been in Ghana for 25 years. They've invested billions of dollars in the Ghanaian economy. And because of that, your child can school at home, you can work from home, you can do business from wherever you are, and a lot of things have changed. They have enabled digital financial services through MTN Momo, and all these things add to the value that you get as an individual within this space. So that's the conversation we are going to have. My name is Kojo Akoto Boateng. I work at City FM and City TV, and I'll be your moderator for today. We have exciting people also on the panel today going to talk to us about the topic, understanding consumer trends in today's world, how to get the understanding and how to interpret the data to make the right decisions. Now, I'll introduce the first guest, and I'll introduce the others. I'm introducing her first because I love what she does. And for somebody who produces a lot of podcasts, listens to a lot of podcasts and audiobooks, I think her business and what she does is one of the key drivers that's going to change the way our creative industry, when it comes to the books segment, grows going forward. Her name is Amma Datsun. She's the CEO of Ako Books Audio. Amma, welcome to the conversation. We also have Ethel Kofi. Ethel is somebody a lot of you also know. She spent years in this particular space, and she's one of the voices that are shaping our digital agenda in the country and in Africa as well. Ethel is the CEO of Edel. We have Ellie Hinney. Ellie has been the chief, okay, so I did building technology, so I like using the word laborer. She's been the chief laborer on whose shoulders MTN Mobile Financial Services has grown to be a key component of our economy and how business is done in the country. Ellie is also here to share years of experience in this industry in understanding consumer needs, trends, and everything, so that by the end of this conversation, you also get to add more value to yourself. Ellie is the CEO of Mobile Money Limited. Ellie, welcome to the conversation as well.
Thank you very much for you.
And we have Curtis Vanderpoy. If Ellie is, say, Sir Alex Ferguson, Curtis Vanderpoy. Curtis, how are you? Curtis is the CEO Ronaldo, a player coach in the space. Curtis is the CEO of ExpressPay. Before we had the national interoperability platform, Curtis and people like him were ensuring that you could send money from MTN to Tigo, to this, to that, to your bank. You could pay bills and all that. Curtis has been a key person who has helped us shape mobile financial services in Ghana and Africa. Curtis, welcome to the conversation as well.
Thank you, Kojo.
And if you are in a remote area and you need healthcare assistance, if you need medication, if you need blood delivered, there's a business whose successes we can say has been a first in the world. If you look at the scope of work they do in Ghana, it's a business that started about 2017-ish, and they've helped us save a lot of lives, and it holds more promise for global health delivery. Daniel Mafu is the vice president of that business, and that business is Zipline Africa. So Daniel is
Thank you.
So Daniel and Ethel will join us via video link, and Ellie, Amma, and Curtis will be in the studio with me. The topic is understanding consumer trends in today's world. We shall take a break. When we return from the break, we'll get into the conversation. But before we go for the break, I have 2 Samsung devices I'll be giving out to the most active participants. Yes, and we have MTN executive souvenir packs, about 4 of them, to 4 participants who can answer questions on enterprise business and their portfolio at MTN. All that is coming up today on the Executive Business Breakfast. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Quick message from MTN.
There are many ways to get around, but there's only one way to pay.
Momo?
Sure.
So many styles to choose, but there's only one sure way to pay.
Momo? Yes.
There's so many you can buy, but there's only one sure way to pay.
Momo?
Yes.
Fish that to share my enemy.
There's so much variety, but there's only one sure way to pay.
Momo, come on, Yamu.
There's so many ways to get together, but there's only one sure way to pay. Got a payment to make? Use MTN Momo and enjoy real convenience in all your financial transactions. Live life the brighter way with MTN Momo. Just Momo it. We day for you, everywhere you go.
Welcome back. We are streaming live on MTN Ghana on Facebook and MTN Ghana on YouTube. What I need you to do right now is to copy the link and share. You can share on WhatsApp, on Ayoba. In fact, you can share on Ayoba because it's a free chat messaging service by MTN, which helps you to reach people all over the world. So copy the link and share on Ayoba. Let others know this conversation is happening so that they don't miss out. You can also share on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you find yourself, Telegram. Share so that people can also get to join this conversation. If you don't have Ayoba, download it. It's good for you, and it's a great app. Now let's begin the conversation. I want to start with Ellie. Reason is that he sits on a big portfolio, a lot of data. He's done this for years, so he has a lot of insights. And I want to know from you, how do you see the industry going forward? What changes do you anticipate are going to happen in the space we find ourselves?
Thank you very much. I think I will start off from the customer's point of view. And today, we're doing a lot of things trying to improve the experience of the customer. Now, we are seeing smartphone penetration go up, which means more and more people are getting smartphones. Now, what that means is that the apps will become very popular into the future, because on the app, the experience is better than today using your USSD for a Momo transaction, for instance. The apps gives you a little more, and your access to the service itself becomes more exciting. Then you also look at how you can support customers when they use a service. So self-service. Self-service will become even more important so that many more people can do a lot of things on their own. We've talked about COVID. Getting physical interactions will become more and more an issue going into the future, because don't forget, we've also battled issues of traffic and movement and all that. So self-service will be key. Then customers' lifestyles are changing as well, and people are doing, these days I see a lot of the shops I walk into advertising online. Go online and shop, So that's also another new area that is coming. So the lifestyle of the customer is changing, and all these are coming through. Now, along all this would also be things around e-commerce. E-commerce is going to boom. It's already very strong in other economies, but in this part, we can only get better with it. So e-commerce is also going to be another thing we should expect. From the industry point of view, all this presents opportunities for businesses to take advantage of these transformations and changes in customer behavior. You will now be able to look at how people shop, and that data also helps you to look at what kind of solutions will become available and interesting. Apart from the fact that today you can also tell the customer that for the past 2 weeks, this has been your trend, these are the things you have bought, these are the things you've shopped for. So I can predict for you what your next, and that informs supply chain. Because don't forget, supply chain will also become more efficient with these kinds of insights, because then you can predict the things you should stock for, and you can make plans ahead of time using that knowledge. So it's going to make business more exciting, but there's also the other side of it where data becomes another conversation. Data protection becomes another issue. So within that context, you see that whilst the customer's behavior is changing, businesses must also adopt new strategies and innovate to be able to meet those demands. And that's where we see the industry going.
I remember when I started using Momo, the main thing I was using Momo for was to send money back home to my mom.
Yeah.
Default. And now, when I look at my Momo, when I request my statement and look at my statement, I realize that there are a lot of services I have paid for, especially via the App Store, that I'm having to pay for like every month. I looked at we are social data, and if you look at the e-commerce category, we are spending Ghanaians are spending average $40 million on games, video games. So is the industry still people sending money to people, or some of these things I am experiencing, people are subscribing to more services, paying for video games? Are people paying for more health services? How are people spending money within the digital space?
I think you've just hit the nail right on the head. People are doing different things now. Today, because of the benefit of partnership, we've moved services in different ways. We are now partnering with different industries. So you talked about games, yes. Facilitating that and making sure that people can buy these things as and when they need it. So you need a partnership. So partnership is becoming very key. Collaborating to succeed, because you can't do all these things by yourself. You can't succeed on your own. And so that's one. The aspect of the banking space is of becoming more accessible to the everyday Ghanaian. Don't forget, before you could access a savings or a credit or an investment product, you need to have a bank card. Today, with your mobile money wallet, you're able to access all those things because of partnerships. The banks are now providing those solutions through the platform for customers to access. So today, people are taking micro loans, they are doing savings, they are buying investment, treasury bills, they are doing all that. People are even investing in their future, pensions, insurance. All these are becoming very popular when you look at how customer behavior is going. And then the whole thing I talked about, online shopping, it is also another thing now. And these days I've observed that most of the guys who hitherto would have gone out to the restaurant to eat now order and pay, and it's delivered. So people no longer walk into the restaurants to eat. A few people will do, but largely people are able to do this digitally. So the lifestyle is what is bringing the changes, and innovation trying to address those changes.
So with this in mind, businesses now have to find ways of targeting people and making it easier for people to make choices that will help them spend on the platforms that you've enabled people to use.
Exactly the point. And you see today, we are seeing a lot more activity per customer than before. The number of transactions customers do in a month have doubled. In some people's instances have tripled. So the use cases are becoming more exciting to the customer, and therefore you see the customer now using the platform even more than he used to. So the phone has become the next friend, and people can actually not move around without their phones. Not necessarily because of phone calls alone, but because of financial transactions, because things are happening as you go along. And these things help to improve, first, the customer's experience and the customer's overall lifestyle.
Let me come to you, Curtis. You and Ellie, you are in the same space. Your thoughts, do you agree with him? Is there any other thing you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think a lot of what Ellie says resonates with me. I think those are the trends we are seeing. There are two other things I'll add. I think Ellie talked about using your phones, and I think everyone does everything on your phone these days. What you're going to see, even today, despite all the gains we've seen, there's still quite a bit of cash that is being used, but you're going to continue to see people shift their behavior from cash to digital. So that's been happening, but there's still a lot of cash. When you look at our economy, 90% plus of transactions are still cash-based. You're going to start to see that start to erode, continue to erode over time. For me personally, for instance, I don't carry cash. I just have my phone, as Eddie said. I move around with just my phone, and I can do everything I need to do. I remember I took a challenge a while back when we had a cash light talk, and I decided, let me challenge myself to see if I could do it for 2 weeks. I did it for 2 weeks, and since then I've been carrying along. The one other thing I'll add though, not just in the local ecosystem, but globally as well. When you look at mobile money, for instance, mobile money is now being seen as a viable payment option. So even global merchants are starting to accept mobile money. And so you're going to see the ability of consumers here to shop abroad, even with mobile money and pay with mobile money. I'm starting to see that happen. We are trying to facilitate some of that as well. And I think you're going to see those trends happen. So locally, yes, there is quite a bit of opportunity from an e-commerce perspective. You're seeing businesses start to embrace that. A lot of people selling on Instagram, they just put their mobile money number out there and people pay them that way. But traditional shops as well are now getting into that e-commerce space. So traditional shops, including supermarkets that you'd have typically walked into, are now realizing that they need to embrace it, especially given what happens with traffic and so on. Who wants to spend the time in traffic if delivery works and you can pay online? I always say with these remote payments, there are usually two challenges. It's payments and then delivery, service delivery. Once those are solved, you're going to see consumers continue to embrace it wholeheartedly. And the exciting bit is, again, internationally, you want to shop abroad, you can pay straight away locally and you're fine, and it gets delivered to your doorstep, and that's already happening today.
Yeah.
You can order a book on Amazon today and it'll get delivered to your doorstep, as an example.
I went to a village in the Krapim area, and then I saw people ordering stuff on Kiku and some other platforms, getting it delivered to them. When I saw the branded motorbike, I was like, so somebody is in this village about 80 kilometers away from Accra, on Third Road, a corner place that you would never assume will be buying stuff directly from China. But the ecosystem is enabling that.
All right.
Now, I don't know whether between Ellie, Curtis, and your industry, you've commissioned a study into customer attitudes when they have digital money. I'm asking this question because in my space, people usually tell me that, because I've been a crusader for e-money, right? People usually tell me that when they have digital money, they tend to spend a lot and they are always spending money. Do we know whether that's the case? And if that's the case, how businesses can take advantage of this to ensure that people spend and get the right returns on their spending, and also people also manage their spending such that they don't put themselves at risk of always running out of cash?
Okay, so that's a very interesting one. We've interestingly heard from some customers who said our platform is too easy and they end up spending a lot more. A few customers have said I've stopped using it because it was just too easy for me to spend. But I think naturally what these platforms allow is just simple convenience. It's so much easier to conduct business, and I always say the most important resource is time. Right? People don't tend to think of it that way. They'll say maybe it's a charge and so on, but it really is the time. And so if it saves you quite a bit of time, that's the way to go. From a spend perspective, I think it comes down to some level of discipline as well, right? And maybe platforms like ours can start to enable people to have easier budgeting tools, for instance, to try and see their budget, see what spending they did over the last month, over the last year, the breakdown of the spending and so on. I think those types of things can help people plan better. Those are some of the things we are thinking about to help people figure out a better way to manage their money. In terms of the ease, with digital, that's what we set out to do. So we can't sort of intentionally introduce any friction, but rather continue to make it as seamless as possible. What we also need to do is continue to add on services that make sense for our users or for consumers.
Yeah.
Right? Give them what is relevant so that they can easily access it and pay for it.
I'll come back to you and Ellie later, because I also want to know if you envision a time where digital wallets and bank accounts will be one thing. Will marry so that 1 + 1 becomes 1. Because these days, I'm able to move money easily from my bank account to digital back to bank, so I don't even go to the bank. But are we going to see a day when they are all the same and one? I'll come back to you on that. And I'll come to Amma shortly to understand her industry and the trends and how things are changing and how consumers are behaving. But before that, I want to hear from Ethel. Ethel is a player in the industry. She's done a lot of research in the space. She's not just a fintech person. She's not just a health person. She's not just a gaming person. She is a midfielder who connects all the dots in the industry. Ethel, you've seen the growth over the past 10 years. You've seen where we are now. There are people who say that with consumer attitudes changing, with digital making a headway, traditional businesses are at risk of extinction. Now, if this is true, from your insight as to consumer behavior and trends, how do traditional businesses prepare for the, I don't want to use this word, but I'm going to use it, metaverse that we've been talking about recently? Ethel.
I've never been called a midfielder. So it's a really good, I'll use that in my next bio, midfielder connecting folks. Here's the thing. There's always been change through human history, right? Evolution and change through human history. So from the Stone Age, the Industrial Age, into the digital age, there is also always transformation, and there is always winners and losers. Now, in the digital age, it's essentially about maybe 2 or 3 things, which is discoverability, availability, and then the ability to purchase or pay for a service and use our service. For traditional businesses, and there's such a wide scope of what you mean traditional business. So if we say people who buy and sell, then we automatically say, well, then begin to think of a way in which gradually you don't cannibalize the business that you have now, if you are a walk-in shop, but the ways that you can allow digital options. Now, I have said, and when people hear digital, they always hear web, but I've always said that as inconvenient as USSD is, as inconvenient as WhatsApp is, it's still what do you call it? An appropriate tool for our age because of issues of connectivity, accessibility, and cost, right? And so for traditional businesses, you need to think about where we are right now in terms of our business. Now, what does that look like? If, for instance, if you take insurance, right? So in the insurance industry is about 2% penetration in Ghana, or a little less than 2%. Now, what if you are an insurance firm, what you are beginning to think about without cannibalizing your current business is building products that lend themselves to digital. And that might mean that you are appealing to a different type of customer than you normally appeal to, right? It might also mean that you might be appealing to the same customer, but you might finding different ways to reach them. But really, it's about understanding what your space, not killing your business, because a lot of times all the digital transformation go into digital. No. Think about ways in which either you can redefine, right? Digital allows you to redefine your industry, your business, your way of doing things. How can you use digital for that redefinition? Or how can you use digital to create a pathway to your door so that your customers can get access to you?
We've had a lot of conversations about buying and selling. For example, healthcare, education. COVID came, people couldn't go to hospitals because hospitals then became hotspots, right? COVID came, people couldn't go to school. So we needed to have virtual classes. Now, if you run a traditional hospital or clinic, looking at the trends, how fast should an owner or a doctor, even a young doctor who is out of school, if he wants to start a business, what should be the thinking? Should I do brick and mortar, or immediately I should have a mix of brick and mortar and digital services because the trends are moving this way and it's moving this fast? How should we approach those things? So the Vice President mentioned e-pharmacy, all these things. How should all these industries use the trends we are seeing to invest and then to change their processes to optimize their returns?
Right. I think that we have to think about it the other way, right? So instead of thinking about digital as the forerunner, we think about how the ways in which people access services are changing, right? And so when you think about it that way, you know that for a hospital, which is the example you used, you will always need a hospital bed and people to come in for whatever. But you also know that there are cases in which you can have a conversation with your doctor and they can take a look at you. You can tell them your symptoms. And there are tools like the Apple Watches and the ones that check your pressure and all those things that can send data back to the hospital for them to then use to make decisions. And then e-pharmacy, right? And then I've been in a system where it was amazing to watch from the doctor inputting data into the system to my prescription being fired off to a pharmacy, which is in a different location, for me being able to walk away and go and pick it up. You need to think about, rather than think about how do we do digital, you need to think about how are the different ways in which people are accessing or need to access your services, and then look for digital pathways in there. There are so many industries, so many ways in which we can find digital, but I will always insist on this, that technology be appropriate. We get locked up in this, an app for everything. We need to think about the appropriate ways to reach the appropriate people with the technology they currently have.
Thank you very much, Ethel. This is the Business Executive Breakfast Series. We are talking about understanding consumer trends in today's world. We started by talking about the money, because whatever you do, you need money. And the money people have given us a great sense of where things are and how things are going. Ethel has brought the perspective of how to deploy digital in various ways to get you going. I'll be talking to Amma. Amma is in the publishing space and she'll tell us about her industry and how things are. But before I bring Amma on, we have 2 Samsung devices for the 2 most active participants. So if you're watching this video, if you have questions, you can write them on the Facebook page or the YouTube stream. If you have comments, any ideas to share, you can do same and we'll read it on the platform for you. Now, the 2 most active participants are going home with a device each. Now, we also have 4 MTN executive souvenir packs for 4 participants. And for them, they have to answer this question. So get ready for your question. I'm going to drop only 2 questions and then I'll talk to Amma. Mention any 2 services under MTN business offerings. What 2 services does MTN business offer? If you have the answer, just write it on the stream in the comment section. And the winners are going to go home with souvenirs from MTN business. And the next question is, how do you win a digital makeover for your business? How do you win a digital makeover for your business from MTN? If you know the answer, drop it in the comments and we will read them and the winners will go home with the packages. Now, Amma, let me come to you. I know your friend Nana Redamwa very well. And when I was a boy growing up in Kumasi, we used to drive from Aja all the way to Prempeh College, behind Prempeh College, because that was where the Ghana Book Trust was, to get to buy the Abbots and all the books we use for our science classes. There were libraries all around where children could go and read, but if you go to Kumasi, that's where I grew up, the children's library is no more. If you go to other towns, you don't see these. But we are promoting a reading culture, and that's where you come in. If you look at your industry, what has been the situation? Like 10 years ago, how was it? Now, how is it? And what do you think tomorrow is going to be? And how does this big ecosystem catalyze that?
Thank you. So I'd like to start by picking up on something that Curtis said. about spending and the ease of spending. And I looked at a study that was research that was done in 2019 on what are the top 5 things young Africans in Ghana, Kenya, it was across 5 countries, were spending the money on. To my horror, the number 1 thing that young people were spending the money on was betting and gambling. Okay, then came music, media, streaming, video entertainment type of sites. And, you know, at first I was like, why on earth would young people be spending their money on gambling? And I was, you know, but then I took a step back and realized that what are the opportunities to spend money easily? Or, you know, what are, you know, there aren't many things that young people, young Africans can buy online. So the challenge there is to make products and services that young people can spend their money on. The other aspect of it is then, is it high tech? And I'll come to that. In Ghana and many parts of Africa, the publishing industry has been very slow to adopt digital as part of its strategy for getting books to people. And so that results in, you know, when you're working in a limited kind of print environment, getting books to your readers and trying to find out for the authors and the publishers to find out what readers think about the books is very limiting and it's very constrained. I watched a shocking video a few weeks ago where a group of textbook publishers who had published textbooks for the Ghanaian school, primary school, all the way through tertiary curriculum. In the previous, you know, the curriculum changes from time to time. So they had got textbooks published, ready for distribution to schools, and about 60% of those books were not distributed during the cycle of the curriculum. So there was this dramatic video of the books being torn up, shredded, and going to be shipped off to be turned into toilet roll. And I looked at that and thought, you know, if we had had a digital curriculum, sending textbooks to schools, it wouldn't have taken, within 5 years, they weren't able to deliver all these textbooks to the schools. And so now, I think many of us might have heard the Vice President speak about some of the infrastructure and the opportunities that were being used to transform book distribution in the classroom. And so basically that situation would not have happened if we had moved into a digital environment and were distributing books digitally. The publishing industry has just been reluctant to get into that mode. I think there are a lot of issues. Some think that it's very technical and they don't have the capability in their publishing houses, but it isn't. Conversion to EPUB formats is really quite simple and straightforward. So I'm in that field, and I'm on a big campaign to encourage publishers to move their products and their books into the digital arena. I'm an audio publisher, and again, I realized when I was looking at how many books are available online, how many people can, you know, get titles on their African and Ghanaian titles on their computers, very, very few. And so that was a challenge to start building a catalog of books in e-format, audiobook and e-book as well. Audiobook because audio speaks to our African sense of orality. You know, we're an oral culture. A lot of people are used to listening to radio. It's convenient. You can listen to a book while you're in traffic, you're walking to work, you're doing some exercise, you're cooking, you're in the farm. So audiobooks are accessible, or e-books can be accessible anywhere, anytime, and it takes, it puts your opportunities to learn and gain inspiration, entertain yourself and amuse yourself. Many opportunities in different languages. In different environments. But so I think the basic ingredients are there. Africans have mobile phones, we carry them everywhere. And so the challenge is, how can we start to get people to think about reading online? Getting information online is already, I think, taken for granted. A lot of people read their news online, they get their information online, they do their search and research. I think that's already there. And so the challenge is how to get people to read online. Many times we're competing in an environment where there's a lot of entertainment online, videos, music, and so if you have to choose between, am I going to read a book or listen to some music or watch a video? So the challenge is, how do you make your experiences engaging? How do you transform your books into engaging content that people will listen to? I think the digital creative economy is a huge space. It has huge potential for Ghana and Africans to be part of that. We have wonderful stories to tell. We have many languages to tell those stories in. We have, our own unique context and experience. And when you look at the digital creative body of knowledge online, it's like Africa is not a big part of that. Yeah. We're consuming information, we're consuming information from other cultures and other places. We have to start contributing our own
So audiobooks, because the streaming industry is growing, is a very good strategy to win in the publishing segment, to get people to have access to books and also enjoy the books on the go. But I want to know from you, over the past 5 years, at least almost every week I see about 2 or 3 books being launched. Are we seeing more writers in the space? If the answer is yes, are we seeing more readers and more people buying the books as they are being churned out?
So it's a little chicken and egg. It's been a challenge already to get publishers to see the potential in digital as a way of distributing their books. A lot of the publishers want to statistics first. Oh, yes, potentially you can reach 2 million MTN subscribers with your books, but they want to know how many are reading on there. And it's like, well, publishers, you have to be the ones to promote the habit, I'm looking in the audiobook is even more difficult in the sense that it's a little bit expensive. To produce an engaging audiobook, you have to use professional actors. So we are working with professional actors and people in the spoken word, voice industry, which is really exciting and also provides revenue and lots of new work for actors. In Ghana, we know the cultural arts is not that well funded. A lot of actors, both from theater and film, in between their film theater gigs, they don't have work. And so we can actually provide new avenues and revenue channels for them to work. However, they do have to be paid. The publishers also have to be paid. The authors have to be paid. And so the cost of producing an audiobook can be a little bit off-putting for a publisher who doesn't know what really are the results of putting out this book there. But the reverse side, and I always tell them, is that when you put your book out there, and I've been fortunate to be able to work with City FM as a radio partner, and they will play my books, and I go on the show on a show called The Writer's Block. It's a Saturday show. So when I go on the show and people listen to the audiobooks, then I get, excited people asking, where can I buy the book? So I always tell publishers that audiobook sales will not cannibalize your book, but will aid in the discoverability that Ethel was speaking about, because someone will hear the book and then want to buy it. Similarly with social media, I think a lot of Ghanaians embrace social media, use it, but the publishers also can use the social media space to launch a book, drop a book, and have
So,
information
based
about
on what you're saying, even though a lot of publishers are not doing it, there's a big opportunity in that particular space for them to explore. With the insights you have, consumer trends, like when you sit on radio, people request for them. So if people invested in that area with Curtis early enabling payments, people can easily buy audiobooks on their phones, their laptops, devices, and enjoy wherever they go. Interesting. I want to know, get into the health bit as well. So I'll be talking to Daniel from Zipline to understand the trends in their industry as well. Then we'll take your questions, because I know we have a lot of questions and suggestions coming in. But Ellie and Curtis, I still need an answer. Are we going to have mobile wallets and bank accounts merge and become one? I'll take that from you before we wrap up. Do you see that happening anytime soon? Now, Daniel, you're also on video conference. You are Senior Vice President for Zipline Africa. You've been operating in Africa. You've been operating in Africa. I know you have operations in Rwanda. You have operations in Ghana for some time now. Based on the data and the trends you have, how are people consuming healthcare? And are we seeing remote health growing and possibly overtaking in-situ care in the next few years?
Thank you very much for that question. So we've been in the space providing healthcare remotely, largely focusing on rural communities, because that's where the accessibility gap is the largest. And if you look at how things are and looking at the trends, I personally don't think that digital healthcare will replace the brick and mortar. There is something very special about being able to walk into a health facility and being able to see someone, speak with them, and then you trust them. But the real thing here is that there are numerous ailments which do not necessarily require walking into a hospital. There are several things that happen in the middle of the night, someone necessarily walking into a hospital to be able to access that care. And that is where electronic healthcare then really relevant on how it can bridge that gap. If you also look at places where, take for instance in Ghana, we have, when it comes to specialists, we don't have specialist doctors everywhere across the country. We just have a few, but does that mean that somebody in Sandema, if they need to speak to a neurologist, should not be able to communicate with this neurologist, virtually, to be able to get, some expert care? And so I see both of them being complementary, where there would always be brick and mortar, there would always be things that you need to go into the hospital, but then virtual care ensures that it's only things that really need to walk into the hospital, like an emergency, something that you need to then be scheduled for surgery. So I see them being very complementary in that regard. And I like to take different aspects. I know there is like telemedicine, which has really become very popular. But for me, telemedicine is just the start. Because if you do have a virtual consultation, then what next? I've had a virtual consultation, but I still need to walk into a brick and mortar to pick up my medicine. I need to still go into a lab to then be able to get the diagnostics done. Have we really enabled a true virtual healthcare system? And so I see that telemedicine is a part, but then which are going into e-pharmacy, which players are going into e-diagnostic services to make sure that you can create a holistic virtual healthcare experience. And I think that is where some risks come up. And if you listen to what the Vice President said a few days back, they are looking at some of the risks that then persist within pharmaceutical space. How do you ensure that people are not getting access to dangerous medicines? Because there's e-medicine now. Today you go on Instagram, You go on Facebook, everybody's selling medicines. How do you prevent that? You go online and people are selling all sorts of diagnostic things. But it means there should be some form of a regulation. There should be some things that still grow the industry in a way that people trust it. And so I still think there's a lot, and we've come very far, especially when the pandemic started.
Thank you very much, Daniel. And I have a feeling that with people developing trust, even through video games, setting up avatars and playing with people around the world, with the investment in artificial intelligence, holograms and all that, with time, at least my generation and the generations after me would have developed a lot of e-trust that would let people comfortably sit wherever they are and talk to another hologram as a doctor who would help them go through the processes and maybe accelerate the adoption of virtual healthcare services. I think that's one of the things that's going to come up. We'll go for a quick break. When we come, we'll read some of your messages, wrap up the conversation, give out the gadgets and the special souvenirs, and wrap up on today's edition. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Good business means seeing the possibilities and maximizing opportunities. Making sure you have a responsive support system backs your business goals. A partner that gives you a stable platform with reliable connectivity and seamless solutions, and better understands the tools required to take you to the next level. With so many moving parts in running a business, we do our best to provide you with some stability, the only kind of stability you can find with MTN Business Broadband, the fastest and most reliable internet provider in Ghana, making sure you stay ahead and stay connected, because we understand what makes your business tick.
Welcome back to the conversation, the Executive Business Breakfast powered by MTN. And you know, MTN is 25 years old, so there's a lot of goodness coming from MTN. So if you don't follow MTN on social media, do follow now, because every now and again there is something special they are dropping your way. Either things to improve your business, your lifestyle, and a lot of freebies too. I've seen a lot of cars lately. MTN, we're a champion. Now, I'll read some of the messages and come back into the studio and to the video link. Precious Michael says, great work, MTN, everywhere you go. This conversation has been very insightful. George Asante says, very insightful conversation. Kwabena Francis Boampon says, services provided can be broadly divided into two, postpaid and prepaid services. So he's trying to answer my question as to the services by MTN Business. Yeah, they have postpaid and prepaid services, but what are the actual products they have? That's what I want to know. So try again, Kwabena. George says, great submissions from Daniel, well done. My understanding of e-health has been deepened. And Gloria Eklu says, MTN Business Solutions, they have internet and connectivity like enterprise Wi-Fi, mobility like corporate APN, etc. Gloria, thank you for that. Fred Christian says, MTN Business has SME and business broadband, and they are taking over the market. And lots of other messages. Let me read about 4 more. Aurelia says, good one, great conversation. I'm inspired. Sebastian Gatti says, with the upsurge of digital tests available online, is there any need for books, especially in Africa, where if you want to hide something from the Africans, you put it in a book? There's a question to Amma. So he says that we don't need to print books. So he's basically saying that we need to use digital services to get people to read more and listen more to books. And Darlene Kwame Edusei says, IoT, Internet of Things, is also a technology that's going to aid some services that require physical interaction. Reading your vitals remotely are some steps IoT is going to help. This will help with health care. Great. Reverend Isaac Appington says, good work, keep it up, MTN. We need more of such to develop our nation and Africa. And Felix Yeboah Ohime says, disruptive technology have come to stay, and we, the corporate world, need to embrace disruptive technology to be competitive in the market. There are lots and lots and lots of messages. Nkrumah says, great job MTN Ghana, inspiring conversation. So thank you for your messages. I'll announce the winners before I wrap up. So we are just about wrapping up. We have about 2-3 minutes to go. Ellie and Curtis, I started with you, so I'll continue with you, then I come to Amma and go on Zoom. There's a substantive question pending. Do you envision mobile wallets and banking accounts being merged as one? And then your final thoughts on the conversation so far. Let me start from you, Curtis, I'll go to Ellie.
So for me, I would actually say I think they are equivalent. What's really the difference between a mobile money account and a bank account at this point, right? You need a traditional bank account you think of as a place where you store money, and now you want you to access that money. You can do that with mobile money as well. So I already see them as, think of them as two different banks, having a bank account with Bank A and Bank B. I will consider mobile money as a Bank B equivalent of a bank account. The main differences are transaction limits and so on that are determined by the KYC levels, right? So that's what I would say, at least on the consumer side. On the corporate side, it's a much broader conversation. Okay. But on the consumer side, I don't see a need to think of them as merge, and it's like asking a question of, should two banks merge, right? For me, they are equivalent. I see mobile money as an option that's here to stay. In terms of my thoughts on this general conversation, I think we are going to see consumers continue to embrace data, use digital channels, pay electronically. I see that happening more and more. I don't see us going back to our traditional ways. You're going to see that uplift in transactions. You're going to see that uplift in sort of living on data. And I think that will also be, it's a feedback loop, because service providers need to listen and think of what consumers are asking for and make sure we are providing that. So take the data you have already and build services on top of that are useful to those consumers, right?
And with Christmas coming, this is just by the way, Christmas is where people spend a lot and there are a lot of activities. What are your expectations for consumer attitude this Christmas season for the year?
I think it's going to continue. Remember, we had the year of return just before COVID hit. I'm already seeing trends that look very similar to what we experienced during the year of return. I think last year was a little muted, and I think this year, after the vaccines and so on, consumers are ready to go all out. So we are anticipating an uptick in consumer spending, consumer behavior, especially with people sort of a little more used to what's happening in the pandemic and figuring out how to live with it. Okay. So I think you're going to continue to see that happening. You're going to see events happening. You're going to see people show up at those events. You're going to see people participating and so on, and really going back to enjoying themselves.
Great. Before I take Ellie, 2 quick questions for listeners and viewers. What is the hashtag for MTN Business? This is very simple. What is the hashtag for MTN Business? And how does one check fiber availability at their location? If you get these right, you get a chance to win a souvenir from MTN Business. Ellie, over to you now.
Well, thank you for Joe. I think from what I said, the merger is already here. I mean, you said it. You said you're able to interact between your bank account and your wallet. So for you, you're able to do the things you want to do leveraging the two platforms. And that's the beauty of partnership and collaborations. Now, if you look at it from where we came from, before mobile money, lots of Ghanaians did not have access to our financial ecosystem because they didn't have bank accounts. But now, because of mobile money, they have that access. They're able to interact with anything within the financial ecosystem. They're able to do investment, they're able to do savings, they're able to do insurance, they're able to do anything a regular bank customer is able to do. So that has brought the experience of financial solutions to all Ghanaians today. So you don't need a bank account to do that. But even if you have a bank account, you have another opportunity to extend services using another platform that facilitates payments and other solutions that is leveraging the same banking solutions, or that is extending banking services through other channels. We are talking about apps today. Yeah. Banks have gone into apps. It's all because of this enablement. So that is already there. And you see, what is important is to look at what the customer is seeking and how we can meet those customer demands. And we talked about all the data earlier on, and the fact that today that is enabling a lot of innovation. People are building solutions on top of other platforms. On mobile money today, we have Open API that is allowing businesses, startups to develop solutions on top of the existing one. And the customer is where we are all heading, how we can provide tailor-made solutions for customers. Today, we are talking the agri sector, and we are trying to digitize that whole value chain. I was speaking to someone who said he was bringing a technology that will enable him to offer a service of spraying farms. Now, because he's an expert in that area, he'll be more efficient. All you need to do is go onto the platform, subscribe for the service, tell your location, and now we are talking about location-based services. And then the
drone or whatever,
the drone goes and then does the spraying, and then the next minute payment is done for that service. Now, those experiences now will help farmers to access a bouquet of solutions right from one point. You go onto an app or you go onto a platform, you can ask to plow your farm, you can ask for seedlings, you can do everything. And at the end of the day, because that partnership also enables the banks to intervene and also play their part, they're able to offer credit solutions to these farmers to access these services. Come the end of the harvesting season, these services can be paid for when the harvest is done, because then there's the produce buying, there's other people who are also involved, take the stock off, pay it, the bank collects the money, pay off the other debt, and the farmer gets his income. So those are the experiences we are looking at. And for me, the customer is at the center of it, and whatever we are doing today is to make the life of the customer better and to make sure that the customer is getting the best of all the experiences that he can get, whether he's a bank customer or he's using that mobile money platform to reach banking solutions. So that's where I see the opportunities. And most importantly also, how we manage the data that comes to us, how we use it efficiently to give customers the best experience that they can get. That's where I see all this conversation going. And those are my thoughts.
Great thoughts there. I'll take Amma, then I'll go to the video link. And Amma, I'm proposing something to you. Let's get Ellie to write a book. I think the title of the book is Making Money Move from Digital, from Analog Money to Digital, Ellie Hini. And then you put the audio book out, and then we all buy it digitally. So we give Ellie 1 year to write that book on the journey to digitalizing money. Everybody agrees. All those watching agree. If you agree, just give me a thumbs up on the video. So your concluding thoughts.
So I think Ellie would love to have your book on our platform if you do it. And I think the opportunity is there. The young man who said, I don't know if he was young, the person who said we don't need books anymore, I don't think so. There's always a place for physical books. However, there's opportunities in environments like these where getting a physical book might be difficult or more expensive. There's an opportunity for publishers to use digital channels to make books more accessible and affordable, so you can easily turn a mobile phone into a library of books, for example, and make them more accessible. But then, of course, just as Ethel was talking about, everything doesn't have to be high-tech. In that school book scenario that I talked about, I was very happy to hear that, again, the Vice Chancellor the Vice President spoke about the distribution of 350,000 tablets to teachers all across the country. There's going to be content on those tablets. So the challenge and opportunities for publishers to repackage their content into formats that are more easily accessible, so that even in a remote community, you may not have internet, you may not have a phone, but for example, even these flat TV screens, these days, flat TV screens are affordable. They all have USB ports. You can pack, 500 books onto the USB port, stick it onto a flat TV screen in a village, they can hook up to batteries. I think they have a 12
There's
volt
solar, there's almost
12
everything.
volt
Yeah.
battery package. So right there, you have a interactive learning environment, and so publishers, that whole ecosystem should look at how can they support each other. When you put a book into the digital space, I think just recently Netflix commissioned 6 films from African books. So they are now going to have films and series which will also attract more, readers and watchers and viewers, which will also attract more people to go and buy the book. So I think that whole ecosystem of publishing, distributing knowledge, our own indigenous African knowledge, we should all, start to play a part. And there are so many opportunities in the creative digital economy for Africans to take part in that. And so I think there's a lot of work to be done.
Thank you very much, Amma. I'll take quick comments from Daniel and quick comments from, so Ethel will end today's session for us. Daniel, if you can hear me, your quick final comment. Okay, so I don't have Daniel now, so I'll take final comments from Ethel. The midfielder is going to connect all we've said and sum up for us nicely.
Yes, I'm changing my bio to say tech midfielder. I absolutely love it. Listen, on the book thing, please, in fact, Curtis, Ellie, Amma, your running of your spaces are amazing, and you really should write a book. And if you start with 400 words a day in a year, you have, a 30, 40-page book. So over to you. Hi. Here's my take. In the end, it's really the center of it is the consumer and what their needs are and how we meet their needs. So digital is a path. It opens up more avenues for us to reach the customer or the consumer, but also enables us to be able to be more specific and customize more because the web and the internet and the technology generally lends itself to that. And so as we think about digital transformation in our businesses and designing products and launching products, we need to put the consumer at the heart of it, understand what the consumer need is, and figure out ways to ensure that the consumer can get it in easy, accessible ways. So those are my few thoughts on wrapping up. But yes, everybody should write a book.
I don't know if I can contribute.
Yes, Daniel, you are back. So you will now be the final person.
Thank you. First of all, I would love to also thank MTN. What people don't know is that all of my operations across Rwanda and Ghana are actually powered by MTN. So without MTN, we would not be able to fly all the drones and be able to deliver to all the millions of lives that we have been delivering to. But for me, that is, I would like to tell a small story there of how, because what we were doing was very different. Getting a drone to be powered by a SIM, which then enables it to be able to do a geolocation point to a healthy and deliver, was something that wasn't there. And then went above and beyond in both countries to help us figure out how to merge that and for that to happen. And that is a strong show of collaboration. How one company can enable another company to be able to do more when it comes to technology advancement. And I think hearing the conversations between the CEO of ExpressPay and MTN and Momo, it just shows that there's a lot of collaboration that can happen in the field. And I think that is how we should also be thinking about creating a better digital environment for everyone. No one can do it alone. And I think that is the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Collaboration. We must all collaborate to get things done. It's been a great conversation. Daniel, Ellie, Amma, Curtis, and Ethel, you've been great with the insights. And it's time to give out the rewards to the viewers. Drum roll. You see, in the virtual space, drum rolls are difficult to do. So question 1 was that mention any 2 services under MTN business offerings. There are lots of them. I'll just run through some of them. MTN fiber broadband, dedicated internet, data center co-location, SME Plus, business manager, business messenger, Unicom services, and a whole lot more. And we got somebody who got the answer right. Question 2, how do you win a digital makeover for your business? You just buy any MTN business product, make a video to tell us how the product has impacted your business, tag us on our social media handles, and you stand a chance to win. And what is the hashtag? Partner for Growth. Partner for Growth. The 4 is 4. So partner for growth. And the 4th question was, how do I check my fiber availability at my location? You just dial *5057#. You choose option 5. Or you go to broadband.mtn.com.gh. You enter your location, select confirm availability, and you get to know. So question 1, the winner is, ladies and gentlemen, Seduji Elikplim. You answered question 1 right. So we are going to contact you and give you your prize. Now question 2 was Kwabna Boampon. You also got it right. Seduji and Kwabna were both on Facebook. Question 3, Ahmed Somad on YouTube. You got it right. Congratulations to you. And question 4 was Darlene Kwame Eduse, also on Facebook. So these are 4 winners. They are taking home the executive souvenir from MTN, the souvenir pack from MTN. Now, the most interactive viewers, ladies and gentlemen, they are walking away with 4G handsets each. The first person, ladies and gentlemen, is George Asante. George Asante. Congrats to you, George. And the second person is Vincent Mreku. Congrats to you as well, Vincent Mreku. We've sent you messages on your various handles. We'll take your locations, your digital addresses, and we will deliver to you the digital way. Thank you all very much for watching and for being a part of this conversation. My name is Kojo Akoto Boating. I've been honored to be your moderator. Ellie, once again, thank you. Amma, thank you as well. Curtis, thank you. Ethel and Daniel, thank you. And thank you also for watching. And to the production team, great job, guys. Thank you for the work you do behind the scenes. Enjoy the rest of your day. Keep enjoying the big yellow world offered by MTN, and be a great citizen of the world.
When we connect, everything is possible. Whatever seems unreachable becomes even closer. Building partnerships, redefining the norms. Because when we connect, being there becomes possible, and new ideas come to life. Stay ahead and stay connected with MTN Business Broadband. Superior internet solutions that drive your dreams. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh or call or WhatsApp 0244 308 111.
Good business means seeing the possibilities and maximizing opportunities. Making sure you have a responsive support system that backs your business goals. A partner that gives you a stable platform with reliable connectivity and seamless solutions, and better understands the tools required to take you to the next level. With so many moving parts in running a business, we do our best to provide you with some stability. The only kind of stability you can find with MTN Business Broadband, the fastest and most reliable internet provider in Ghana, making sure you stay ahead and stay connected, because we understand what makes your business tick. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh or call or WhatsApp 0244 308 111.